October 14th, 2012, Sunday. "Joseph, wake up," Connor said. "Okay, I'm up. What time is it?" Midas asked. "Just after midnight, like I said. Did you get to sleep when I said?" "Yeah, I'm just used to Bioforce giving us a boost when we get up at odd hours. That is one of the benefits of having a healer on the team. Now come on, we have to go." "So, I need my armor to fly with you?" "No, just make a bubble and I'll push it," Connor said as he led him outside. "Okay," Midas said as the bubble surrounded him. Connors used his telekinesis to pull the bubble along with him. Midas quickly became alert when he felt the G-forces in the bubble. He fell to his knees before he canceled them out with his power. Fear gripped him as the bubble passed from the atmosphere and into space. Midas knew this was the most efficient way around the globe. Straight away from the planet, find your location, and straight down. Chances of hitting an aircraft or causing air turbulence were at a minimum. But his unexpected trip into space haunted him. It was the closest he had come to death. Over South America they made a rapid descent. Midas had paid attention in geography class and knew it was southern Chile that they were heading for. Connors brought them down near a small wooded area. "You can lose the bubble," Midas heard Connors say in his earpiece. "Sure," Midas said. "Are you still freaked out about being in space?" "A little," Midas admitted. "An Omni can't be afraid of heights." "It's not the heights, it's the space. Whatever you want to call it. You need to find a way to get over it." Connor started picking up boxes that were sitting near where they landed. He used his telekinesis to place them all in a pile. "What are those?" "There's a village over that hill there. A changing climate has reduced their rainfall and cut their crops in half. They're too poor to buy much of anything. My grandfather was very nice to me when I was very little. He was the pastor of a small church that ran a soup kitchen. Part of his mission was helping those who didn't have enough. These people here, they want to work and feed themselves. They just can't. It's like the rest of the world forgot about them. I'm just trying to continue my grandfather's work. So I bring some medicine, food, books, and a few toys for the children. I bring them Bibles too, and read to the kids on Sundays." "So, this is what Manchester Jack does on his Sundays," Midas said. "Don't ever try to call me by my handle. It won't go well," Connor said flatly. "Okay, can I help? Can you speak Spanish?" "Just from watching Dora." "That won't be good enough. Just follow my lead." Connors walked up to the hill and placed the stack of boxes on the ground. He then started yelling at the village in Spanish. People came out of their broken houses to wave at him, and children ran to see what he had brought for them. Adult villagers greeted him also. They seemed very thankful for the things he had brought them. Children played with the few toys in the boxes, and when the boxes were empty, sad children looked around for something the others may have missed. Midas looked around at the poverty these villages lived in. The skinny children seemed happy enough, but he figured it was this way because Connors just brought them things. Supplies he brought that would help them live until he came back the next week. "Joseph, I didn't bring enough toys. I told these children you can do a trick. If they give you one toy, you can give them two back," Connors said. "It's all right if I use my powers here?" Midas asked. "Just be discreet. No lightning bolts or anything. Try to make your power look like sleight of hand or something." Midas was soon mobbed by children holding out toys. "How do I say form a line?" Midas shouted to Connors. Connors started saying things in Spanish at high speed. "Stand on that stump over there. They'll form a line up to it." Midas took his place on the stump and started a performance that held the children in his grasp. He took a stuffed animal that he was handed and threw it up into the air. 2 of them landed in his hands. Then he pulled toy cars out from behind little kids' ears and on and on. When things had started to calm down, Midas was able to walk around the village and look at the decaying buildings. Mothers were trying hard to make meals to keep their families healthy. Midas looked around to see what type of work the men did. He saw unused farming tools. This was a farming village without water. The impact of the drought devastated these poor people. This village was the kind of thing that Midas would see on TV in a commercial asking for money. Whenever one of those commercials interrupted his program, he just changed the channel. Now he was standing right in the middle of one of those commercials. The sadness started to overwhelm his caring heart. "What stopped me from being born in a place like this?" he thought. "What makes my mother different from that one working in that kitchen? Does she love her children less? That could be Alex over there or me. My dad could be one of these men that want to farm this land with no water." His thoughts would not be quiet. Midas walked over to Connors, who was getting set to read stories to the children gathered around him. "What happened to the water for their farms?" The rain still falls. It just falls over there. Connors pointed to a mountain range Midas had to use his supervision to see. Are there farmers there that use it? No, it collects in the mountain lakes and streams there. If these people want fresh water, they need to hike 30 miles to the base of those mountains. Otherwise, they pump what they can from their dry wells. I have to read for story time now. I can talk to you more about it when I'm done. Midas left the area where Connors and the children were gathered. He walked back away from the village, the way they had come. He formed a force bubble around himself and went to see where the water was. Halfway up the mountain, he found lake after lake of fresh water. He then gained more altitude and moved over the village. He got on his hands and knees in his bubble, looking down at the landscape. The need to help was fighting what he knew Connors would think. I can do this, he thought to himself. Midas flew back to the lakes and started to unleash his power on the mountain. Each of the lakes was soon interconnected into one giant reservoir of water. He then floated down to the base of the mountain in his force bubble. Rocks reformed and moved to match his will. A steady stream of water was soon coming out of a spout. Midas capped it and started to work on the rest of what he had planned. From the spout, he knew he had to keep a straight line to the village. He remembered the grade that the Romans used and drew a line in space with his eyes. His power made a hard air reference from point to point. He floated down next to the ground and made stone into the ground and back up. The aqueducts were starting to take shape in front of him. It wasn't long before he was getting close to the town. He saw how the farmland was laid out and where irrigation channels needed to be. I can't forget drinking water in the town, he thought. Midas did the things near town as fast as he could. He didn't want Connors to see him until he was done. The last thing to do would be the ducks to the fountains in the town, he thought. Midas reached back with his mind and unplugged the water source into the aqueduct system. The water will take hours to get here. I can't wait that long to see if there are problems, Midas thought. He used his power to fill the aqueduct channel with pure water. Only minutes now, he said out loud. Midas walked back over the hill and looked at the water system that he had made. He did his last task, then made the channels that would go through the village. Almost on cue, the women of the village screamed things Midas couldn't understand. He walked into the town as men were grabbing sticks and pitchforks to defend themselves from the unknown. Connors was quick to find Midas as he walked into town. His eyebrows dipped in the center to form an angry V. "Joseph, get over here!" Connors cried out loud. "Yes, coach," Midas said meekly. "I thought you knew what the word discreet meant." "I do, it's just—" "What?" Connors stared him down, looking for an answer. Cheers came from the center of town. The sounds of celebration could be heard in the crowds. Connors stopped looking at Joseph and walked quickly to the sound they heard. The big fountain in the center of town was starting to fill, slowly. The upper levels filled first, and then it started to trickle down to the large base where the children were standing. "This fountain will just give them false hope," Connors said coldly. "That fountain has barely fed a trickle. It's for the kids to play in. The real stuff—" Midas didn't want to tell Connors what he had done. Villagers were continually yelling in Spanish. Connors started to follow them away from the center of the village. There they stopped at a large stone basin filled with water. "What did you do? Speak!" Connors said with force. "Follow me." Midas jogged out of the village with Connors close behind. "There!" He pointed to the large stone structure that faded into the distance. "I brought the water back. I put clean water stations throughout the village, but the bulk of the water goes to the irrigation system. I think I doubled what they used to farm." "Joseph, this is—" Connors said softer. "You said I was supposed to build the future. Well, these people didn't have a future, and now they do. I mean—" Midas' eyes started to well up with tears. "What's the point of being an Omni if I can't help people like this?" Connors silently put his arm around the young Alpha and pulled him to his side. "You're going to be all right." Connors then looked at the people celebrating in the village. "You're going to do just fine."